Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 20 beautiful fall Dollar Tree DIYs for you from the Crafty Vault. These are some of your favorite fall DIYs. Think very traditional fall for these DIYs today, and I hope you enjoy.
I thought we could take this like little vase, I guess it's like a hurricane shaped vase from Dollar Tree, and kind of make a fun like acorn candle holder using one of these are the little glass candle holders. They come 4 to a package. I really love these. I need to get some more because I think I used all of them in the video today. I'm just going to turn it upside down and sit it in the bottom. It fits in there perfectly, but it's going to allow me to raise my candle up that I want to put in the middle. Now for the candle we're going to use on this is from the Dollar Tree. I really like these little votive candles from the Dollar Tree. You get 2 in a package. They're already in glass. And since they kind of have like a wall, I can go ahead and decorate mine if I want. So I picked up some of this birch ribbon. It looks like birch wood from the Dollar Tree, and it's a nice wide piece. So what I'm going to do is try to cover the candle, kind of make it look like a birch log. I thought that would be really fun for fall. So it's a little larger than my candle, which I'm going to kind of use that to my advantage because I kind of have to go around this odd shape, right? So I just used hot glue to attach it to the candle hole itself, and then I wrapped it around and glued it to itself. Now I have it a little bit longer on the top and the bottom, and I can just go around and trim it down to perfect size, and it's going to look like a cute little birch log. I love this ribbon. I think it's really beautiful. I think it looks really rustic for fall or for winter. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim the bottom down too. Now I can attach that candle inside on the little candle holder that we put upside down. So I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue so that we can kind of tack that down right here in the middle, just so it won't move around a lot, because that is a real candle. All the candles we're doing today are real candles because I want to burn my candles for fall. I don't want any of the LED or electric candles for fall. But you could always modify my DIYs and use whatever is more convenient for your home. Now it's time for the acorns. These are from the Dollar Tree. I found that they have 2 different sizes. So these are the smaller ones, and I have a bunch saved over from last year. So I'm going to use those too. And I'm just sprinkling those all around the little birch candle holder in there, filling up the sides of the vase. They're kind of too large to go all the way down in the bottom of the vase, but that's okay because it kind of is clear down there because we have the little candle holder upside down. But I thought it would look cute to add a little raffia, like a little raffia nest down around the base of the candle holder. And so I just take a package from the Dollar Tree. I really don't like working with this stuff because it's kind of messy. So I'm going to kind of leave it as is. I'm just going to try to cut out enough of it to go all the way around the bottom, and it's just going to provide another little rustic fall touch. We've got the acorns, we've got the birch log, so add a little raffia. I think that's going to look really good. So I just kind of cut that down to size, and then I needed something to kind of give it shape, to kind of make it like a wreath form. And I thought the easiest way to do that would be to use some of this wire jute from Dollar Tree. So I'm just going to cut a piece down, and I'm going to attach it to one side here of my raffia and just kind of use that as my wiry form just by bending it and then attaching it to the other end. I can pull it around and use that wire in there to attach it to itself. And we're going to have just a little raffia base to this. It's just going to add another little fun touch. So I think that looks good. I think I made it just the right size just to slip on the bottom of the vase. I love these vases. I think they're a beautiful size and shape, and they're from Dollar Tree, so I think they are a great value as well. So I think that looks pretty good. We have a little acorn wreath, maybe just a trim here and there to kind of clean up some of the raffia. But I'm glad I added that touch. I think it really looks cute. So let me show you our little acorn candle. I really think it is perfect for fall. I've seen so many ideas on the internet for like fall candle DIYs, and I've seen acorns used a lot, and it's because they just scream fall. And I really like these. They're like a yellowish, brownish, maybe a little bit of red, lots of color in these acorns, and you don't have to paint them like the wooden ones. So let's light this fall candle up and see how it looks. Super cute and so easy to DIY. And this is how it looks with a little bit less light.
Are you enjoying today's video? If you are, be sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. We're trying to hit 50K.
Okay, the next DIY, I thought we could try to DIY one of these little chair covers. These are new this year, I think. I've never seen them before, but they're like giant scarecrow heads. I thought, I don't really have a chair this size, and they're really large. Like, I don't know who would have a chair this big, but I thought we could DIY this and make this into a fall pillow. How whimsical and fun would that be? This one has like the brown hat, but when I flipped it over, I was surprised to see it didn't have a back. I kind of thought it had a front and a back and you could just slide it over your chair. But you know what? It only had like a little bit of fabric just to hold it on the top. So if I'm going to make it into a pillow, I'm going to have to add material to the back, which is no big deal. I'll just see what I have from the Dollar Tree, and I found I had some tan fabric that was going to be the perfect size. So it doesn't really matter what you put back here. You're just going to have something large enough, because as you can see, I can barely get this whole thing in my camera shot because it's so big. I'm not gonna iron this or anything. It's just gonna be the back of my pillow. I was kind of afraid to iron the felt on the Dollar Tree Scarecrow pillow cover front there because sometimes Dollar Tree stuff melts. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start here where that fabric ends. And I'm just going to put hot glue down the side of the scarecrow, overlapping the edges of mine. Now, this is just regular fabric, so it will fray a little bit. So I want to try to mitigate that. So I'm just going to do one section at a time. Basically, I'm going to hot glue that with a overlap so that I can trim that down even with the felt on the front of the scarecrow, all the way up until I reach the brown fabric again, and then we can start stuffing our pillow. Now, once I get it all glued down, it's just a matter of cutting the fabric, and what I do is I cut it as close as I can get to the felt, and I'm hoping that the hot glue will keep it from fraying, and so far so good. It looks pretty good. And again, that's just the back of the pillow, so it doesn't have to be super pretty. I did find that if you cut from the front, it was a little bit easier to see what you're doing here. Now, I always have old pillows. I always save them because I don't like to spend money on like polyfill fluff when you can just use them from old pillows. This was a really large pillow, and it basically took all the stuffing that I had to fill it up. And so I'm just kind of breaking the stuffing up into pieces. That way, there's no areas that are going to be super bulky. But I thought this would be really cute, like on the bench in my entryway for fall. And it's really a nice size for a bench because it's so wide. So I have it stuffed. Now, I thought it would be a cleaner seam if I just used that existing seam on the brown felt and glued it with hot glue right on top of the fabric, sealing that all in. And even though I used just regular fabric on the back, I really didn't have any fraying that's visible. Now, the tricky part is doing this without burning yourself. I just put one of those Dollar Tree hot glue protectors on my finger and putting my finger inside the pillow to push up against the felt so it can kind of come into contact because it has all that fluff on the inside. So it was kind of hard to get it on there and glued down enough to dry. Now, when I get this far, I just put hot glue on the felt, kind of sitting it down on there and kind of pinching it to make sure that it's attached. And that's all there is to it. We have a giant scarecrow pillow. I think it's so fun. I tried to scare my son with this, and he was like, that's cute. It's not scary. I noticed that the little felt hair kind of wants to stick together. So I'm just kind of sorting that out a little bit, but otherwise I think he's adorable and just a fun use for the little Dollar Tree chair covers they have for fall this year. Really impressed with the size of these. This and like the Dollar Tree wood signs for Halloween are huge compared to what they usually are. So I guess that extra 25 cents is allowing us to get some bigger items. But this is how it turned out. Our little scarecrow head pillow. I think he's so adorable. If you don't like the buffalo check for the strap, you could totally change that out for something else. But its face is so cute. It's already got all the hair and everything. So just a really easy, fun DIY that I think everyone would enjoy. And you can see it takes up like almost my whole bench. It's so large.
Okay, for the next DIY, I wanted to do like a wood block pumpkin, but I thought Dollar Tree probably has something that I could use that's pre-made, and this sign is perfect. It's square, it's got a pumpkin stem on it already. And instead of making it, we could kind of hack this Dollar Tree sign instead. So it's got like a slatted board sign with the two little raised pieces of wood on there, and it's got words on it as well. I want it to be just a simple like farmhouse pumpkin, block pumpkin. So I do need to mask all the words on there. I'm just using some ivory paint. You can use white. Basically, it's going to give you like a blank canvas. And I went ahead and left the little wood slices on the side. I like those. I'm actually going to add more wood to it to give like the little pumpkin sections. The only thing is with painting, you have to kind of be careful how much paint you're going to get down inside the grooves here. I'm just using a Cricut weeder to kind of clean that up a little bit, and I want to make sure that no words are coming through. So a second coat was necessary here in a couple places just to give me a blank canvas. We're going to be painting this pumpkin block sign orange. And I'm sure you've seen these made where people like take different pieces of wood and put them together to kind of make a block pumpkin. And this is just kind of a quick little hack so you don't have to make it yourself. Now the sides are obviously like different color boards as well. So I'm going to go over them with some ivory paint as well to give them a blank canvas. And I don't really care if I get any paint on the stem because we're going to wrap that and make that look cute too. So that looks pretty good coverage. We've covered up all those words. And for the wood piece for the front, we're just going to use a Dollar Tree wood ruler. I love crafting with these. They have a little ridge on there, so I think that's going to add extra detail. I just have to cut the ruler down to size, and it can be like the middle section of the pumpkin. It is wider than the other ones, but since it has that little extra ridge and stuff like that, I think that kind of goes with that wood block pumpkin feel. I just attach it with some hot glue right into the center. That's a little groove I'm talking about that kind of sticks out there in the middle a little bit. And it is great wood to craft with. I craft with these things all the time. And I just go over it with a coat of the ivory too, just so I have the same starting color. And one thing about doing ivory all over this is I'm going to do a thin coat of acrylic over this, so I won't really need to distress. The white will kind of come through. This is the color I chose. It's apricot acrylic paint. It's a little bit more yellowish than like my pumpkin color that I have, but I kind of like it. So I'm just painting it kind of all in one direction. So you see that like little bit of white coming through. It's going to kind of make it look distressed, and that will just save me a step. I won't have to go back and distress it anymore. And I just go ahead and paint the entire front orange. Now, you could put some words or pictures on it. I just want it to just look like plain wood block. So we're just going to have it be one color and nothing fancy. I do go around all the edges with that same apricot colored paint. And again, I don't want really good coverage, so definitely not going over it with a second coat. See how when you dry there, it like that wood grain came through. I just had to touch up a few places where maybe a little bit too much white was coming through, but I think that looks pretty good. Now it is time to finish drying it, and then we can redo the pumpkin stem. Super easy to do that. I'm just going to use some Dollar Tree twine and wrap it. It's going to make it look really cool. If you didn't like it, you don't want to wrap it, you could always replace it with a wood stem or something like that and kind of give it like kind of a gnarly one. But I love just a simple jute wrapped pumpkin stem. I think it looks really good. I just attached a little hot glue there at the bottom and then just simply wind it up. When you get to the top, you're going to have to use a little bit more hot glue to keep it from sliding off the end. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and cover the very top of it too, so that it doesn't really stand out being dark wood like that. I just put a little hot glue on the tip and just coil it around inside each other until I fill up the pumpkin stem. Super easy to do. And again, I do just want like a plain woodblock pumpkin. And so that is pretty much all the decor the pumpkin's going to get. But I am going to add a little raffia bow to the top just to make it kind of look charming. I just burn off the fuzzies there on my twine. And for the raffia, I'm actually going to use a Dollar Tree grass skirt. These are from the summer section. My store still have them. And they are great for fall crafting. I've made so many things with these grass skirts that I have left over from my luau videos this summer. So I'm going to cut it in half. I grabbed one piece, which is like 2 pieces, and cut it in half. And I'm just going to simply wrap that around the pumpkin stem. And we're just going to tie a very simple bow, just like tying your shoes. And kind of adjust it to make my bow look even. I want that raffia kind of going down in the front. And again, just very simple, but I think it turned out really cute. I always like to do, a pumpkin stem, but I always like to add leaves too. So I had one of these extra leaves from eucalyptus plant that I have from the fall florals, and I'm just going to do one of the green leaves. Just choosing green again, I think that looks good. And I just cut one off, and it's really lightweight, so I can just attach it with a little dot of hot glue, kind of at an angle back behind the pumpkin stem. And there it is, our simple, just farmhouse woodblock pumpkin sign. I think it turned out really cute. It was so easy to do. And when you do a simple piece like this without like any more decor and wording and stuff like that, it pairs really well with other like fall decor that you can sit around it and group with it. And it's just kind of a blank canvas, but I really love how it turned out. And using that Dollar Tree sign was definitely a big time saver. Okay, for the next DIY, we're going to be making an acorn tree. I thought this was a really fun idea. I picked up a foam cone like this from Dollar Tree and some of their acorns. I think I use a total of 6 packages. There's 10 in each package. And I was thinking, 4 will be plenty. I'm glad I bought more, but I did have to use more than I thought for sure. Now, I do want to attach them to the foam cone, but I don't want that styrofoam to be visible between acorns. So we're going to cover the entire foam cone with burlap. This is just burlap ribbon I got from the Dollar Tree. You can use like the big rolls of burlap, but burlap or some kind of fabric is going to work well for this. Basically, it's going to give you a pretty background behind the acorns, but it's also going to give you something to glue the acorns to besides the foam, because foam hates hot glue, but it'll work for this. So I go around the top first just because I want to cover as much as I can, but it's kind of an odd shape with this roll, so I'm going to have to be creative and kind of piece it together to get the whole thing covered and tight against it. So I just go down like this to the bottom, trying to get it as tight as I can. I'm just going to have to go back and do more rows. It's just kind of the odd shape of the cone. But we're going to make do. And again, this is just kind of for functional purposes, but I do want it to be a burlap background. You're not going to be able to see all these seams in the final product. So I fill in this row. It's going to require a 3rd row of that burlap to cover it. And again, I'm not even cutting, like, I'm just leaving like angles on it like that. I don't really care. I'm just making sure to cut it down so that none of it really goes on the bottom of the acorn tree. And you could use real acorns for this if you have real ones. I remember one of my viewers last year mailed me acorns from her yard to craft with, and I thought that was so funny and fun when I had a laugh when I opened the box. But you know what? I used them all for crafting. They were great. She sent me pine cones and acorns. I think it was one of my members, Janae, so thanks, Janae. I did cinch it up a little bit there more at the top just to make sure that it was all tight against the cone. And we're just going to have it be flat against the ground like that to display. I'm not going to do a stand or anything like that. And now it's just a matter of attaching the acorns. Now, I thought about using toothpicks for this because you could like stab down into the foam, but I wanted to see if I could just do it with hot glue. And it did work, but one thing you're going to have to keep in mind when you're doing this is to definitely take your time, because the hot glue definitely needs time to dry. Otherwise, they are going to fall right off. So I started out kind of doing one at a time. As I work my way up, I kind of start doing like two at a time. But these acorns from the Dollar Tree are great because they're kind of, you know, fall colors. You don't have to paint them. They also have like the wooden acorns that you could use, but you are going to have to like stain or paint those first. But you know what? Those would actually be really pretty because this, when you stain them, they turn out so pretty because you get that wood grain. But this is probably the easiest way to do it. Now make sure that they're going to fit. You might need to space them out when you get towards the end, but I was able to really tightly do the bottom layer of these. I have them all going the same direction, like acorn cap up. And as you can see, it did a great job doing like the first row like that. Now I'm going to kind of nestle these down in between, but again, it's going to get skinnier as you go up. So you know what, you're going to be able to use less. So you're not going to be able to do that every time for sure. I just try to get them to fit as much as I can. And again, don't go too fast because they do just come right back off, even with Gorilla Glue hot glue, if you don't give it a chance to dry. This was kind of a good direction to do mine in because they kind of rusted a little bit on the one below them and on the burlap behind them. But I still went ahead and took a break, let those set up a little bit. And then I thought I could probably make it a little bit sturdier by adding a little bit extra hot glue there on the top. These last two I'm going to have to space out a little bit, but nothing too obvious to make it fit. And again, we have that burlap back there, so I don't really care if you can see through some of them. Now, once I have my second row, we're going to keep working our way up. I love making like any kind of like topiary trees, things like that with fun items. I think I did like a conversation heart topiary for Valentine's Day. And I've made a lot of things for like Christmas, and fall is a really fun time to do a tree like this as well. So third row is almost done. I was getting a little bit faster, but again, definitely let them dry between each one, and a little extra hot glue on the top there can kind of go down behind them a little bit, and you're not going to be able to see that from the front. So I was like, okay, yeah, we need more acorns. This isn't going to be enough. So I did have another package that I had purchased this year. And they have these in different colors too. You know, you could do random colors if that's all you can find. I got like some real dark ones and some like almost like cherry red stained ones. That would be pretty too if you like alternated them, or you could even do acorn trees in different colors if you could find a lot of them at your store. So that row looks good. We've got it all glued on there. And then I was like, I am still not going to have enough, but you know what? I had some left over from last year. They're a little bit different color, but when you turn them around, they do have like a yellowish side, which is going to blend in with the rest of these. They're kind of all like yellow and red a little bit. But we're going to make it work because we've came this far. I definitely want an acorn tree. Now the top was a little challenging because the tree doesn't go to a point, and I want my acorns to go to a point. So it's going to be challenging. I think 4 will fit. I just put a bunch of hot glue right there at the seam between the topiary or the foam piece and the acorns. And then I just sat 4 up there and tried to glue them to the acorns underneath of them. They were still a little bit wobbly. And then just put more hot glue in between them to try to keep them on there. For the very top acorn, I am going to use a toothpick. So I just put a toothpick in the foam acorn, put some more hot glue in there, and just kind of glue that down to the top. I wasn't sure if the top was going to work out, but it did. And I'm glad that it goes to like a pointy top like that. I think that looks pretty cool. And this is how it turned out, my little acorn tree. Really fun and whimsical. You can leave it up all fall. You know, you could probably even leave it up for winter too. Acorns are just a fun way to decorate, and if you had real ones, they would look fantastic too. These are a little all kind of the same, being from the Dollar Tree, but I think they turned out pretty cool.
Okay, the next DIY, I got one of these little orange jars. I call them a pumpkin jar from the kitchen section at Dollar Tree. They're really large and they're orange, and I think they look like a pumpkin. So let's find it a pumpkin stem using one of these little wood stems from the Dollar Tree. I'm trying to find a perfect one that I can just put on the jar lid. Now, it's great when a scented candle has a lid because you can seal the scent in there and keep it well scented. So I don't want something that's going to interfere with me being able to screw the lid on and off, but I thought having a pumpkin stem would actually make it look a little bit more like a pumpkin. So I am melting down one of the large white candles from the Dollar Tree again. I have some fragrance oil. This time I'm going to use marshmallow fluff. I think that could be fine for fall. So I'm going to go ahead and put one of the little candle wick stickers down here inside. This is a really large jar, so it's going to require a couple candles to fill this up. And I'm going to go ahead and attach the wick. Luckily, the wicks are really long because even though it's a really big jar, it was totally long enough to still go in my little popsicle stick, which is so handy with the little holes drilled in it. I'm going to use some of the little wire jute for a little tendril for our pumpkin stem. So here's our candles boiling away. So I'm going to went ahead and did 2 just for this one because I knew it was such a large candle that it was going to require a lot of wax. So let's go ahead and scent it. This is one that you kind of have to dump in. And I kind of have an idea about how much of that fragrance oil I want to use. And so I go ahead and add that to both of my melted candles. And I did do some microwaving today to melt candles. I think I like the stove method better. It can get a little messy, so you want to use like an old pot or something that you don't really care about. But I try not to get wax everywhere. So I think everything is ready to go and we can do this fall candle pour. So again, be careful. These are really hot. I'm going to go ahead and dump this right in. Now, I was able to find the orange jar like this and also the clear one. So you could do your own color of candle by coloring your candle or using one of the colored candles from Dollar Tree instead of the white ones. But since this is orange, the white I think is going to look really good in there. I did have to fish out like a candle wick part there. But most of the time, they just stayed in my original glass that I'm pouring out of. And I think that's going to be the perfect amount of candle wax to make this candle. And so I am done with this. We can go ahead and work a little bit on the pumpkin stem. So we have the lid. It's just a regular jar lid. We have the little wood stem. And then I also want to use some of that wired jute cord. So I'm just going to hot glue the stem right on there. And then I thought maybe one little tendril would be cute on here for a little pumpkin. I don't think that's really going to get in my way too much for being able to use the little screw lid. So I just go ahead and put it around, something like a pen shape to make a little curly tendril. One thing you really have to kind of avoid working with these too much because it does come off the wire. I'm going to use some hot glue to try to glue that in place. And then I can trim that down a little bit because I don't want you to be able to see like the wire in there. I also burned off a little of the fuzzies because it was a little messy. And then with the straight in here, I'm just going to wrap that around our pumpkin stem. Easy peasy. It'll be easy to remove if I don't end up not wanting it on there. So I let my candle sit. This one took a little bit longer because it's such a large candle, but it's set up really nicely. I did have to clean this up a little bit, pouring wax on the side and stuff like that. But once it's set up like this, it's really easy to clean it up with a paper towel. And I think this one turned out really nice. I really like the marshmallow fluff scent. But if I have like a pumpkin spice scent, I would really love that. So I trim the little wick and screw on the little lid, and we have another little pumpkin candle for fall. How perfect is this for fall? Isn't it so cute? Because it's decorative. When you're not burning your fall candle, you can totally just use this as a fall decor. But then when you want a little fall ambience, you can light this right up. I kind of burn my candles like whenever I'm like in my house. I don't really care what time of day, but they are really special at night, especially if you have the lights down low. So let's light this one up and see how it looks all lit up. I think it's really pretty. Okay, let's get started on another DIY. We're going to use one of these little glass globe jars from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to do a pumpkin. I've seen lots of people make pumpkins out of these, but I thought it would be fun to make one with natural elements inside. So we're going to take these pine cones and fill it all the way up. I wanted to see how many pine cones I could get in there because I want it to be nice and full, but I don't really want them wiggling around or anything like that. And I found like a perfect amount to fit in there. And so the pumpkin, you'll be able to see in it will have pine cones inside. So I think that'll be a fun touch. Now to make like the different sections of the pumpkin, I'm going to use some Dollar Tree twine. I do go ahead and burn the fuzzies off of it just to make sure that it's not too wild looking. And then we're going to start by wrapping it around. So the bottom of the jar will be the top of the pumpkin and tying that off right on top. Now I left it going around the open bottom, which is going to help keep all those pine cones in there, even though I don't think they're really going anywhere. I think I got it pretty good and full. So we also hot glued that to the center to kind of keep it straight. And then we're going to have to do that with the twine 2 more times to give it the little segments of a pumpkin. So I just wrap it around, tie it off on top again. I'm tying it on the top because I'm going to put a pumpkin stem and stuff there, so I'll be able to hide all that later. And then we're going to do it again here with the third piece. Now I wanted to make sure that it all stayed together, so I decided to tie this one so they'll all meet in the center at the bottom. Everything's going to stay even, then wrap it around and tie it off and trim off the excess. I also hot glued them together in the center to make sure that they stayed in place as well. So that's what we have so far for our little pine cone pumpkin. I've seen people make these with like twinkly lights inside, and it looks really pretty, but I wanted to try something different. So I wanted to try the pine cone version because I've never made one of these before. Now to cover the top of it, instead of Spanish moss, we're going to use that brown moss they have right now at Dollar Tree. It's kind of really messy, but I like the color for fall. I think it looks really cool. And since that had that like flat bottom on it, that's now my top. I want to cover most of that with the moss to kind of hide the fact that it's not like domed at the top of the pumpkin like it should be. And then we're going to use one of those wood stems from the Dollar Tree again, just hot gluing that right on the top. Again, I like to use one that's a little bit bent like that, kind of give me the feel of a pumpkin stem. And it's looking pretty good. I'm thinking maybe just a few more little items to add to this. Paula also sent me some pine cones, so we're going to use some of those that she sent to decorate the top of this. I'm just going to hot glue a pine cone in place. And I had some of those little green berries left over from that Target Dollar Spot kit. So I thought it'd be fun to add a few berries here to the top just to give me a little bit of color. And just trying to figure out exactly how I want those on there. And I just trimmed that down and just glue the little plastic stem down inside that brown moss. I don't want to go too crazy with the decorations, but I did want it to have like a little curly tendril. So I'm going to use some of that wired jute from Dollar Tree. I cut off a piece and wrapped that around a pen and hot glued the ends because this stuff loves to come off the wire. You definitely don't want to work with it too much because it will fall apart on you. So I glued the other end so I could cut that end as well to kind of give me a cleaner little wire jute. I definitely want it to stay on if I can. And then I'm just going to wrap that around the little pumpkin stem. like that. And then I'm going to use a little bit more of that brown moss just to cover up the top of that so you can't really see that part. You can only see the little curly tendril like standing up. So a little bit more moss over here as well. I thought it needed a little bit more. And I added one more of those green berries, and this DIY is complete. Our little glass glow pumpkin full of pine cones. I love all the natural elements, the wood stem, the acorn, the pine cones, and the twine, I think, gives it a natural element as well. So a really easy little pumpkin DIY for a natural fall. This little Hello Pumpkin art print, regularly $49.99 at Kirkland's, and we're going to try to dupe it with supplies from the Dollar Tree. So the first thing I did was design this image that's pretty close to the original, and I will include the link to the free printable for that. And we are going to frame it in one of these Dollar Tree frames. I really liked this one because it was square and the original art print was square, so I thought this would work well. It kind of has like a tannish gray frame, which I kind of like. It kind of goes great for neutral fall. So we're going to leave that as is. Now, to make the art print, I'm actually going to attach the image that I printed directly on the glass. Now, the frame is slightly larger than the width of a piece of paper, so 8.5 inches, just slightly larger. So what I'm going to do here is just cut the sides off of this image. I printed it out on cardstock just because I find it's a little bit easier to work with, but you could probably get away with paper, but you might get a little bit more wrinkling with that. What I want is a slight glass border on the two sides to match the slight glass border that's going to be on the top and the bottom there. So that looks pretty good. It is a little bit smaller, than the glass, but it is so small that it's really not noticeable. So I am going to just do Mod Podge all over the surface of the glass, and we're just going to attach the image directly to that. So I put a nice thick layer down and line up my image. Make sure it's kind of on there square, that there aren't any bubbles. I like to smooth mine out first with my fingers, really dry, but then I also like to follow that up with a scraper to try to get any excess glue out that might be trapped underneath of it too. And this is really going to give us like a mounted art print like on wood, but just using these existing glass that was in the frame. So once I got it dried, I went over the top of it with more Mod Podge to seal it down. I kind of like the brush strokes that you get from that. I've been having a lot of problems with the Dollar Tree foam brushes lately though, leaving those little black spots of foam, but we got it in there. We're just going to go ahead and put it back in the frame. As you can see, there is a slight border around that. And I kind of wanted to fill that with something because I didn't want the brown backing to show through there. So I decided just to use the paper that came with the frame, turn it upside down like that. It will have a white background and it will kind of blend in with our printable. I do have a larger format printer, but I have it set up only for sublimation, so I can't go any larger than a regular sheet of paper. So I just popped the back on it. I wanted to use the existing hanger that was on there, and check it out. How easy was that DIY? I think it was so easy, and with this printable, you can make this too. I always share a link to the files that are in my Google Drive. So this is what we were trying to do, the Hello Pumpkin art print from Kirkland's, and let me show you ours. I think it turned out really cute. I love I kind of the neutral colors. I kind of chose like a honey color for the word hello, and I like that it's just like hello with just a pumpkin, kind of like figure it out, right? And I try to use lots of fall colors there in the greenery. One of these little orange pumpkin dishes, it even has a lid. From the Dollar Tree, I think this is going to make a perfect fall candle. For the candle wax, we are just going to melt down one of the Dollar Tree long candles. I chose white. Doesn't really matter. You can do yours whatever color you want, but white's going to kind of go with anything. And then I got one of these wick kits from Amazon, only $4.99 on Prime. You get 100 wicks, stickers, and even the little popsicle sticks to hold the wick up. And I'll be sure to include those in my Amazon shop because that was a really great deal and it made making candles a lot easier. We're also going to scent our candle. I am actually going to use this scent. It is Bartlett Pear Cider, just because I couldn't find pumpkin scent at Dollar Tree. So I went ahead and popped it in some boiling water in an old pan on my stove. You might need to kind of push some of the wax down in it as it melts to get it to all melt. And then we are going to go ahead and set this up. So you just take one of their little double-sided stickers, put it in the bottom, and then you just attach the candle wick to it. It was really so easy, and then just string the popsicle stick in for spacing. I'm going to go ahead and get my fragrance oil ready to scent it, and it is all liquefied and ready for scent. This did not have a dropper, so I couldn't really count my drops, but I was trying to do maybe about 20 drops. I just went ahead and kind of fished out the wick that was already in there, and you can kind of smell it. If you think it needs a little bit more, go crazy. The fragrance oil, from Dollar Tree is only $1.25, and I picked up some scents that would remind me of fall today. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour this right in. I think it was a perfect amount of wax for this size. So I'm just going to let this sit. It's going to set up and harden into a beautiful scented candle. It really doesn't take too long to set up, and I'm just going to go ahead and remove the popsicle stick and trim the wick down to like maybe quarter to a half of an inch, and this DIY is complete. I think it's great. It'll help keep the scent in the candle because it has a lid, so that is helpful. So this is our first fall candle. I think it's really cute. I don't know if they have those pumpkins in any other colors or not for fall. You'll have to let me know in the comments below. But I think they are perfect for a fall candle. And making your own candle like this is really a lot of fun. I had so much fun putting all these candle DIYs together. So let's go ahead and light this candle. See how it smells. My house is going to smell fabulous this fall because I'm going to have plenty of fall candles for every room. Okay, the next DIY, we're going to take a Dollar Tree pumpkin. I wanted something that looked a little bit more realistic than the foam pumpkins, and this one's actually really pretty. It's kind of an orangish red. It's painted nicely. Just going to pop the stem off of it, and what we're going to do is kind of make this into a little pumpkin vase. I grabbed some wheat also from the grocery store. That was about $3 for that big bundle of wheat. And I thought we could do a really fun floral arrangement in this little pumpkin. So I'm just going to start gathering some of the wheat here. They're way longer than I need them to be. So I am going to have to kind of trim those down to size. And I thought we could just put them right inside the foam pumpkin. Now, the only thing I noticed about that is that just like before with the foam pumpkin, it was really kind of tippy. And I thought once I fill this in with all my florals, it's definitely going to fall over. So I start my plan to try to weight it down. Now, my first plan was to I thought it was hollow inside, and it wasn't really hollow to my surprise. So I try to cut as large of a hole in there as I can. And then I'm just using Dollar Tree pebbles to try to weigh it down. Now, I don't know if this really did any good because I did have to use something else a little bit later in the DIY, but I did try to fill it up with pebbles a little bit. Now I'm going to go ahead and start gathering my wheat again. I'm basically cutting off about half of the stem, and I want to use a combination of like that real wheat, some fall flowers, and some cat's tails from Dollar Tree to make a really beautiful floral display. So I'm just starting to do all the wheat first. As you can see, it still kind of wants to fall over, which is why I did have to weigh it down some more. I'm always looking for ways to weigh stuff down like this because I don't want a project to be something that's going to be falling over all the time. So kind of piece by piece, trying to fill that out. I think that's pretty good. And these are the little cat's tails that I got at the Dollar Tree. These are brown. I think the colors are going to be perfect. I don't really want any of the greenery on there. I think it's a little too green for what I'm doing. So I'm just going to take the cattail itself, and I'm actually going to stab that down into the foam by making a little hole with its wire. Now I have a total of 5 of these, and we're going to go ahead and use all of them. As you can see, I'm just kind of alternating these out, kind of on a row underneath of where the wheat is, because the wheat is all in the center of the pumpkin. And then I want the last piece to be longer, so I try to get as much of the wire as I can with that, so I can put that right in the middle and it'll be nice and tall, standing above everything else. Now, to cover up the base and to clean it up and also add more decor, we're also going to add some of those fall flowers. But first, I thought maybe a few more pieces of wheat. And I just wanted to look nice and full and even, just kind of spreading those out a little bit as well. And then the flowers are going to kind of fill in where I kind of stabbed the pumpkin with the cattails and clean everything up. These are the only fall flowers that I have. They are marigolds. I think that the color on these are perfect. And they have little stems on them if you take them off carefully. And you can just attach them to the pumpkin by pushing that stem right into the foam. You don't even have to use hot glue or anything. So I'm going to do a total of 3. I think that's going to be plenty to fill that all in. And I think this turned out so pretty. If you had a larger pumpkin, you could always do this on a bigger scale. And then I decided to switch some of the bigger Dollar Tree rocks, and I just poked a hole in the bottom and shoved one of those in to weigh down the bottom of the pumpkin, and that really helped. That worked way better than my first method. And this is how it turned out. Our little fall floral arrangement in a Dollar Tree pumpkin. I think this is so sweet. You can use this as a centerpiece if you wanted. It'd be really pretty if you did that, if you did it maybe on a little bit larger scale, but this would totally work as well. So you can totally use a combination of real and faux flowers in an arrangement like this, and it can turn out great.
But I gotta say, I really prefer the real wheat like that. So if you can find it, you should craft with it. I think it should hold up well too because it is dried out. But how beautiful is this DIY? I wanted to try some of these little lanterns, the mini lanterns from Dollar Tree. Now these do have batteries. They're only $1.25. They have these in white and black. I picked up some black ones too because I thought they'd be cute for Halloween. But I'm going to try the white ones to make a fall tree DIY. So I'm going to use a Dollar Tree glass bottle that I found. This is one of the ones that had the lighted corks in it that I used for another project. And then I just went and got a stick for my neighbor's yard. So for the Dollar Tree rope, I'm going to use that to cover the vase. The vase is kind of ornate. I want it to look more brown and kind of neutral for fall. And so I just go ahead and hot glue this to the base. I love this size bottle. I'm glad I saved these because I used the cork lights and other DIYs here on my channel, and it's a great size. It's about the same size as like a little glass soda bottle too. You could use something like that if you had some in your recycling. Now I did glue it first, but once you get going on this, you can kind of just turn it and push it. It goes pretty fast until you run out of rope. One package of the thinner brown rope from Dollar Tree is not enough, but that's okay. We can always start and stop. I'm just making sure to do that where I started. That way that can be the back of my vase and all the starting and stopping can be back there. So I just go ahead and do another. And we're going to be using that stick to be a fall tree. I'm going to cover it in fall leaves. And then I'm going to hang those little lanterns from it. I thought that would be a really fun DIY. Now it gets a little trickier when you get to this part of the bottle. I am having to add hot glue just to make sure that it stays in place. I don't want any gaps between my rope. I just want a nice rope vase for this DIY. I don't really want you to be able to see any of the glass at all though. So when I go up here to the top, I'm going to go a little bit further than I really need to go to make sure that all of the glass is covered. And again, I'm going to stop right here on the same side that I started and stopped both times before. You can, again, clean up your fuzzies with just a lighter, get some of those threads off there. This Dollar Tree rope isn't too bad, but sometimes you can get some really fuzzy rope. Then I'm going to fill it up with Dollar Tree sand. I used white sand. It doesn't matter what color because you're really not going to be able to see much of it. But I thought that would be strong enough to hold this branch up because it's going to be having all the lights hanging from it as well. And I'm going to have to kind of center that out a little bit. I want the different branches to be different lengths. So I'm just cutting that down with my miter scissors until I'm happy with it. I want like 3 branches to hold my 3 lanterns. And then the one on the bottom there can just be kind of a bonus one. These are the Dollar Tree fall leaves. They come in yellow, orange, green, red, and like a gold foil. I'm going to use like this orangish red color and the red ones. I decided the yellow ones were just a little bit too bright for my liking. And I'm just hot gluing to them to that free branch that with a little dot of hot glue and kind of making them look like there's not very many leaves left on the tree. And the ones that are on there will probably be falling soon. So I'm kind of alternating the red and the orange. I'm glad that I didn't make it super colorful. I think that this is definitely enough color for this project. So I have my 3 branches all covered with that. I also have the smaller branch at the bottom. And you can go ahead and iron those if you need to, but they're pretty much flat. The way they package them is pretty good. I thought one more leaf back here would look good. I like that the orange and red ones have 2 different patterns. One has kind of veining and one doesn't. And then I'm going to use just Dollar Tree twine to tie the lanterns onto the tree. So I just go ahead and tie these off with a little bit of twine. That way I can tie them right where I want them on the branches. I want them kind of hanging down like this. Now my branches were kind of going straight up and down. So I'm also going to use a little bit of hot glue to make sure that they don't slide down the branch any. And just cut off the excess twine. I think that's going to work. So I'm going to have this one go a little bit higher on the branch right about here. Again, I had to hot glue all of them just to make sure they stayed in place. And my third one is going to be on this back one. I think it's going to be weighted evenly. So even though this is pretty tall, I think it should stay in place, even with the little mini lanterns on them. And I love these little lanterns with the candles inside. I think they're so cute. So I'm going to turn them on. The only thing I didn't like about them is they are pretty bright white. A little bit of a yellow tint on the candle or the light would have been appreciated, but it was $1.25 each, so I think that was a pretty good deal. So I go ahead and put my branch down into the vase. Now I still have some room in there and it felt like it wasn't super secure. So I'm going to finish filling the rest of the vase up with that sand. It took almost a whole package to fill up that side vase. And I go all the way to the top so that my branch is secure and this isn't going to go anywhere. And this is how it turned out. So this is what it looks like during the day with the little lanterns hanging from the fall branches. Super cute. And I just love them. I have been looking for a way to DIY these since I found these at the Dollar Tree. I think they're so cute. So this is what they look like lit up at night. Super cute. I love them. And I don't really mind the fall colors on this one. Now for the next DIY, I wanted to make another solar light and I wanted to make a lantern. So I picked up a solar light. Again, it doesn't matter which one you pick. Even a square one would work for this one because the vase I picked up is one of those plastic vases from the Dollar Tree that's square. And I'm going to attach the solar light inside of it, but I want it to be like a solar light lantern that we're going to DIY for fall. So it's going to need a base. I chose some of this craft wood from the Dollar Tree. It is a square and it's just about the right size. I'm going to decorate it as well. It was a little rough, so I did have to go in there with my sanding sponge and clean that up a little bit. I am going to decorate this, but I do want to stain it just in case there's some areas that you won't be able to see my fall decor. I'm going to be using a couple of the fall leaf picks there that you see. They have a really cute acorn on there, and I will be incorporating that as well. So I just do a quick stain with Antique Wax by Waverly all over, including the edges in case you can see them. Just wiping that off with a paper towel. And again, Antique Wax by Waverly, super quick, dries quick, and just a fun way to stain that craft wood. Now I'm going to have it upside down like this, the vase. I'm going to draw a couple little corners on here so I kind of know where to line this up. And this project kind of evolved as I crafted it. I want it to look like a lantern, so that's going to be like the base of the lantern. It's going to be an outdoor decor, so I wanted it to be fairly heavy. So I'm going to use some of the Dollar Tree rocks to kind of weigh down the base of it. Since that plastic vase is really lightweight, I don't want it to tip over. And I'm also going to be putting a Dollar Tree pumpkin inside to light up. And so I do want that to be lifted up so you can see it. So I'm going to just make a pile of rocks, basically. I like these colors. I think they look great for fall. I'm just randomly gluing them on there, and we're going to do a pile of rocks. That's going to add a little bit of decor, but it's also going to, serve the function of lifting up the pumpkin. So I just hot glue these on here. I don't want to go too close to the edge, which is one reason why I put the little corners on there for reference. So I didn't go too far. And I'm trying to choose like some flat ones so they will stack well. Again, just super random with these and checking to make sure that my lantern is still going to fit on top. I DIY'd a solar light for summer using one of those vases in the blue color and made it look like a lighthouse, and it turned out so cute. Now, this is the pumpkin I chose for inside. The reason I chose that one is because it's small enough to fit inside. It's kind of a medium-sized pumpkin I found at Dollar Tree this year. It is ivory, which is not, I really want it to be a little bit more traditional fall color. So ivory will work great because I can paint it to whatever color I want. But I did do another row of rocks on there in the center to lift it up a little bit more. And it's a really nice sized pumpkin. It's kind of an in-between size that you don't often find at Dollar Tree, so I appreciate that. I'm just going to pop off the lid and paint it really quick. Since it's ivory, it's going to paint really well. I'm only going to do one coat. And this is apricot acrylic paint. I really love this color for fall. I think it's really pretty for a pumpkin. And if I don't get great coverage, you'll just see a little bit of the ivory coming through, and it'll just make it look a little bit distressed looking like a real pumpkin would be. Now, it is made out of foam, so I'm using my heat gun to help dry it, but very sparingly because I want to make sure that I don't melt any of the foam. Foam pumpkins are really fragile like that. And then I'm also going to paint the stem because it was bright green. So I just use this beachcomber beige, I think it's called, to kind of make it look more tan. And again, if some of the green shows through on that, it's just going to make it look a little bit more two-dimensional, so that's good. So I go ahead and just pop that on, making sure it's stuck down in there, and I think that looks really cute. So I want to attach this inside the lantern, so I'm going to go ahead and just attach it with some hot glue right here in the center, and this will be one of the things lit up inside of our fall lantern. I think that looks cute, and it's going to serve the purpose and weigh it down and lift the pumpkin up. Now for this part, I need to attach the solar light. I'm going to go ahead and attach it on the inside so it doesn't interfere with the lantern design. So I just do hot glue, and I'm going to glue it to the bottom of the vase, which is going to be the top of the lantern, with some hot glue, and that's going to also protect it from the weather since it's going to be outside. Now for the greenery, I picked up this one. It's very traditional fall with the bright oranges, yellows, greens, and I love the acorn. I love everything except for the berries. I think the berries are kind of ugly on this one, so I won't be using those. So I'm just going to go ahead and start taking this apart. The acorn I'm going to use on the front of the lantern. It's a really cool one. It's a little bit different than like the big felted ones that you can find, but it's definitely larger than the other ones that they have. Now for the greenery, I'm just going to go ahead and cut them into individual leaves so I can kind of cascade those around my lantern. Since I'm using this thick wood, I can just use my staple gun and that will be nice and durable. And I will kind of overlap those to cover the staple. And then I can also use the acorn to cover the staple here in front. And again, just trying to mix up the color, have them go like every which way. This is going to be the front, and I went around and did the whole thing. Now, if I were to make this lantern again, I would probably do this step last because it was a little bit hard getting the lantern in and out while I'm doing other things to it because it's not quite complete. But I'm going to continue that all the way around. I love the colors. This is so colorful and a little bit different than my normal neutral fall I've been doing a lot. But I think this is going to look great, like on the table next to my front door for a fun little solar light. This is the back, so I don't really care back here if you're going to be able to see the staples. But otherwise, I tried to cover them all up, except there's one there in the front, which I'm going to cover with that cute little acorn. Did have a little bit of glue I just melted there on the acorn cap, and I'm just going to attach that with hot glue to the leaves. It's looking pretty cute. We've got the pumpkin, we've got the fall leaves, we've got the acorn. Now I want to make it look like a lantern. So it needed like a little bit of a box shape. You could use wood for this, I guess, maybe some dowels. I thought I wanted to see if I could do it with some Dollar Tree rope. So this is the brown rope from the Dollar Tree in like the thinner kind. And I'm actually going to frame it out, try to make it look like a lantern. Now I did it two different ways. I attached the hot glue to the vase, and then I've also tried putting the hot glue on the rope. I think putting the hot glue on the rope might be better because you have to be really careful. Since this is made out of plastic, it is sensitive to that hot glue, and you can kind of mess up your vase pretty easily if you get too much on there. So I'm trying to carefully not to get too much on there, but I just go up, over, and then down all with one piece of rope to frame out this side section. And then I'm also going to be boxing in the top of it to give it that lantern shape. And I think this did provide the structure that I was looking for on this to make it look more like a lantern and less just like a globe on top of it that didn't really make any sense. So this was me trying to add to the rope, which worked well until I got here, and then it was probably a little bit easier to add it to the vase. My hot glue gun gives you a lot of hot glue, so I'd probably been a little bit better off with like more of a finer detail hot glue gun, but we're going to make it work. So I flipped it over and I'm just doing the rope the same way. I just go up, over, and down and cutting off any excess. Now this did make that part of the vase a little bit bigger when I go to put it in, which is probably why it was really snug getting it in there with the leaves. Now for this section, I already have the corners done, so I really only need to square it in. So I just cut a little piece of rope here to finish off. This is going to be like the front, and I'm going to do the same thing on the back. And I do go in and add a little bit more rope before I'm done with this one. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and try to burn off any fuzzies. Again, trying to be careful. I know that plastic doesn't want to play. And then I also want to have some fall greenery. I have another bundle of that same arrangement. And I basically just want some fall leaves to go inside the lantern as well to go with the pumpkin. So I'm just going to cut off like one piece like this, cut the berries off, and stand that up towards the back just to provide another fun fall touch to this. And then just kind of sit it on there. I don't attach it to anything. I just kind of have it standing straight up. And you can see how tight it is now to get it in there with the fall leaves. So I had to kind of go around one section at a time and kind of pull the leaves out to make sure it fits in there. I'm not going to glue it on or anything. You could if you wanted to, but I'm just going to have it kind of sit on there. It's pretty snug. I think it will stay in place. And then I decided I wanted to kind of frame out the top of this as well. Kind of cover up some of the hot glue. Again, if you had maybe one of the square solar lights, it might fit the top a little bit better than the round one, but I'm okay with it. I just go ahead and do a square of that rope. And it just made the top of it look a little bit better, I think. And there it is, our solar fall DIY lantern made from scratch. I think it turned out really cute. It was really fun to make. This is what it looks like during the day. So many fun fall touches with the fall leaves, the pumpkin, the acorn. And this is what it looks lit up at night for the lantern. And again, it's a solar light, so you have to use those outside so that they can charge during the day. And they don't have any trouble charging through that clear plastic at all. It actually just protects the solar light. Day and night.
Regularly $19.99 at Kirkland's. It is adorable, and I thought we could do a Dollar Tree version really easily. Now, they have a book stack for fall. It looks like this. It's a little plain. It's not too bad, though. And so we are just going to use, again, one of those burlap bags from the Dollar Tree. This is half of one that I have left over from another craft project because you guys know I craft with it all the time. I love it. And I thought we could cover the top, front, and bottom with this bag, and it's going to give us that same burlap feel from the original. And we can even do gold lettering for the books to give it that same feel. So I just cut out the front panel of this. Again, I just want a rectangle of the synthetic burlap. And then I just need to cut it down to size, a strip that's going to cover the bottom, the side, and the top there. So I was kind of thinking how I want to do it. I covered every surface except for the back, maybe because the back was just cardboard already. And it's kind of supposed to be book pages back there. You can't really see it back there, so it doesn't matter. So I just use an ink pen and draw out the bottom. And then as you can see, I just flip it as I go. So I get one long piece that we can use for all of the books. Now, if you wanted to use this to cover like actual books, that would be super cute as well. In the original, it kind of looked like a book stack like this, but maybe a little fancier one. So I just cut that down to size, and then we can just attach this all in one piece. I will cut it later to make it look like individual books, but I'm just going to start right here on the top just by lining it up like that with the excess going on the front. I just do a layer of Mod Podge. Even though that has that plastic coating, you can use Mod Podge. It does take a little bit extra time to dry though, for the plastic on there. And then I'm just going to line it right up like this. Now, since it is a rather thick burlap, I didn't think that you'd really be able to see the writing on here. So I went ahead and did Mod Podge first and then laid this down and smoothed that out when I realized that you could still kind of read thankful and blessed and stuff like that through there. And I kind of realized that when I was kind of creasing it, and I'm going to add new titles to it. And I didn't know if you would be able to see that. It kind of bothered me. So I was at a step where I could just pull it back up, wipe off the Mod Podge, and then disguise the writing on there a little bit by just using a little bit of white paint. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to mask it, do a coat of white all over the front. And as you can see, the Mod Podge on that plastic just stayed wet for me. So that'll help. But once I got it dry, I did add a little bit to the books itself because I want each one of these to be glued down to each book because we are going to cut those in just a moment. And I'm covering the bottom of my book sack. I mean, you probably wouldn't need to, but I kind of wanted that feel that the book wrapper went all the way around the book, kind of like the original. So I Mod Podge that to the bottom, pulling everything as tight as I can to it and let that dry. Then I go back in with a razor blade and I just cut out in that little seam between each one. And I kind of go back in there with a Cricut weeder, really try to emphasize that I felt like you still couldn't really see that there were separate books. So while my Mod Podge had a little bit of play in there, I was able to kind of rearrange it a little bit so you could see like a slight gap between each book. And I liked that look a little bit better. So now it's just a matter of making book titles. I'm going to use my Cricut. It looks like they're about 1 inch wide, and I am going to share my Cricut file for this if you want to recreate. And I'm just going to use some gold vinyl that I had in one of those like variety packs of like 12 by 12 vinyl off Amazon. And I probably should have chose the foil setting. I don't think I realized really that this was like a gold foil, which I guess makes sense because it's metallic, right? But if you don't cut it like super good when you're using a foil, like if I would have used the foil setting, it probably wouldn't have been this hard to weed. Because as you can see, I was struggling, but I was also determined that I was not going to recut this. So if you make any mistakes and your letters come up, as long as you get them back down on that original sheet, get them lined up properly, you won't have any trouble. It could have also been that that was a little bit of a fancier font because this one really didn't give me much trouble at all. I did the same titles that were on theirs, except I modified this last one a little bit because theirs said like leaves are falling, autumn is calling, and there is no way I was going to weed letters that small. No way. And it was like so much on there that I didn't think you'd really be able to, read it either. So I have enough trouble with this size weeding. I think this is probably my limit. And we got them all 3 on my paper transfer paper. I'll just cut that down into strips. I get that paper transfer paper on Amazon. It's always linked in my Amazon shop below. And I'm going to use that to start transferring these on here. I'm going to do them kind of in the same order. Fall is my favorite on the top book. And I love that gold vinyl. I will definitely have to get some more of this because it turned out so cool. And I would have never thought to put the gold on the burlap like this if I hadn't seen the original that we're duping from Kirkland's. So the second one said autumn skies. And then the last one, I just said leaves are falling. And check it out. I think it turned out so cute. I don't want to take away from that beautiful shimmer of the gold, so I'm not going to seal it down, but I think it's going to stay on there pretty good. That vinyl seemed pretty sticky. And here was our original tan burlap fall book stack, regularly $19.99 at Kirkland's. And then our DIY Dollar Tree book stack. Isn't it beautiful? I love the burlap covering the books. I don't know why I never thought to use burlap for that. And I love the subtle colors. Again, super cute for like a neutral fall decor.
And I'll try to share the SVG files for that if you want to try to recreate with your Cricut at home.
Okay, the next DIY, we're going to DIY one of these little foam pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. I always try to choose the white ones when I have a choice because it's going to make it a difference. You don't have to paint them white to start a project. And I am going to cover it with the corn husks that I got from the grocery store. Now, I know that if you soak the corn husks, it makes them easier to work with. And I didn't want to do that because I wanted to hot glue it down. And I know that I wouldn't be able to hot glue it down if it was wet. So I don't know. I found that this was a lot more challenging than I thought it was going to be. Now, gluing the smaller part to the top of the pumpkin like that with the hot glue was actually pretty easy. Now, I want to kind of make it not so wide, so I kind of fold it up upon itself and kind of wrap that around. It does go all the way around to the bottom of it, and then I'm just going to hot glue that to the base. Now, I found that hot gluing it to the foam worked a little bit better than hot gluing it to itself or anything else. So I was trying to hot glue it onto that tag that was on the bottom, and it was kind of fighting me a little bit on that. So I just used a lot of hot glue, and then I had to be patient and kind of let it dry. Now I got that first piece on there, so now I'm going to use a second piece and go straight across, kind of doing the same thing. So just going to glue it here, leaving room for a pumpkin stem. And again, that part was easy. This was the tricky part. So I kind of make it a little bit skinnier like I did before. And then I just apply a lot of hot glue and try to glue it to itself. I thought that this step would be way easier than it was, but Again, I just kind of had to exercise some patience on this DIY. In the end, though, it turns out super cute. So I'm going to grab some more of these. I'm trying to use kind of pretty much the same size. And I'm going to hot glue it here. So we're going to do crisscross like in a cross first. Then we can go back and fill in any of the missing sections. So again, on the bottom, I kind of folded up a little bit using lots of hot glue. We're just going to glue that to itself and make sure that it stays. If you don't let it set up, it will come back apart. Trust me. I don't know if there's a secret on hot gluing the corn husks. If you know something, please let me know in the comments. I always appreciate your all's wise crafting advice. So I went straight across on that one and did the same thing. And just making sure that's secure. I thought about like trying to staple it and stuff like that, but I didn't think that would really work either. So we stuck with the hot glue. Now to fill in the little gaps in between, I think that one of the corn husks is going to be plenty. So I just glue the tip, and then just like before, we just wrap that around and we're going to glue that to the back. And that's what I mean. I just don't know why it was super difficult to hot glue the corn husks to each other. I don't know if it's because I am bending it like that and it's really, I'm just trying to bend it without actually cracking it or breaking it. But again, just hot glue in time and I was able to get it to stick. And I'm actually going to put a base on this, so that's probably going to help keep everything together as well. So as you can see, that overlaps it nicely. It does stick out a little further, but I'm totally okay with that. I think that's going to look cute. And then we're going to have 3 more sections to do the same thing to fill in the 3 triangular gaps there. And I want to decorate this, but I don't want to make it super decorative. I really want the corn husks to kind of speak for themselves on this pumpkin. And I've done so many different DIYs with these foam pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. They're just such a perfect size to work with, and they're so fun. Making sure everything's together. I just have 2 more to attach here. And again, just leaving a small circular shape in there so that I can cut a hole in the top, and then we can add a stem in here. These were all pretty much the perfect length to go around one side of the pumpkin and kind of be hidden underneath without having to cut anything down. And we're almost there. One more piece and we have got a little corn husk pumpkin. I'm just looking for the perfect piece. I noticed some of them did have holes in them, but that's okay because it does kind of look a little bit rustic too, but I tried not to use them on my pumpkin. So last piece, I glued the tip on the top and then gluing it tight to the bottom. And then once I had it all wrapped in corn husks, I noticed it was really tippy. See, it does not want to lay flat. And so I am going to make a base with this. So again, I'm using one of these little wood slices from the Dollar Tree. And we're going to take a couple Dollar Tree nails here. I chose some longer ones and just go ahead and drive those in so I can kind of stab the foam pumpkin from the bottom. It's going to help keep everything attached. So very similar to how we did the gourd turkey earlier. I love these wood slices. I think they're so fun and rustic. So I'm going to combine the nails with hot glue, of course, and just set the base on there. And like I said, that's going to help kind of reinforce everything, keep the corn husks attached to the bottom of it because they weren't really very that stable. So kind of like that so far. And that's going to give me a nice heavy base and make this stand up properly. Now for the stem, I'm going to use one of these little wood stems from the Dollar Tree. Kind of leans to one side, so I think that's going to make a perfect pumpkin stem. And I'm just going to cut a hole here in the center of the pumpkin with my scissors and push the wood stem in there. I want it to be nice and tight. just like that. I think it's so cute so far. A little corn husk pumpkin. I think it just needs a little bit more decorating, but this is what it looks like at this point. Now, for the base of it, I thought it would be fun to decorate it with some of this fall berry garland. This is the one with like the orange and the red berries on them. And I thought we could just kind of string that around the little wood base at the bottom just to provide a little touch of fall and make it really look cute for Halloween. So I just kind of wrap that around until I'm happy with it. I just want kind of like just a very small wreath down there, just enough to provide a little bit of decoration. So I'm trying to decide how much I want. I think that's going to be plenty. And I found a part that I could just untwist it, and I didn't even have to cut it. So kind of haphazardly, just kind of laying on the wood slice, but I think that looks really cute like that. Now, to decorate the pumpkin stem, I thought this little orange felt blessed pumpkin from this little mini wood bead wreath from the Dollar Tree would be perfect. So I'm just going to borrow this and get some more twine so that we can tie this onto our pumpkin stem ourselves. I use this, and I also use a little burlap bow that is on that as well, and just leaving the orange wood bead wreath for a later DIY. I just tied the twine around the little pumpkin stem like that, trimming it up a little bit. It's so cute. I thought I had this bow, I might as well use it, so I just popped that off the wood wreath. And then we can just attach it here to decorate the top of our pumpkin. I was trying to decide which side I wanted it on, and I kind of like it a little bit better here on the front where you can see it. So we're just going to hot glue that in place right there on the pumpkin stem. And I really think that is all that you need. I thought about using the wood bead wreath there for the base instead of the wood slice, but I think the wood slice is probably a little bit more stable. And this is how it turned out, our little corn husk pumpkin. It was more work than I thought it was going to be, but I think it turned out really unique and cool. So here it is. And you know, if you're decorating with corn husks, you can always dye them as well with just regular dye. That would be a fun thing to do as well.
I did that on some of my Thanksgiving DIYs last year where I dyed them blue to use for like mermaid corn.
Now for the next DIY, I just picked up a little fall vase. This one's orange. It doesn't matter what color it is because I'm taking it outside and giving it a good spray paint. One coat with that metallic gold spray paint, and look how beautiful the vase looks now. Now I want to use some fall greenery. Everything was from Dollar Tree except for one piece there I see from the Dollar Spot. To arrange them, I just take some Dollar Tree sand and fill up my vase, about 2/3 full. Now this is the special pampas grass that they got in for fall. It's very gold. I think it's really beautiful. I'm going to take 2 of the Dollar Tree pampas grass in gold and just arrange those in the back. They're nice and tall, so they're going to be great for the back. And then I picked up some of this fall foliage from the Dollar Tree. It's like a gold leaf and an ivory leaf together with some berries, and I think that's going to go together nicely. Now, some of my leaves were all bent up, and a couple of you guys told me a great trick is just to use your heat gun to give them a quick iron. And look, you can even do it once you've got your arrangement together. Now, this piece did come from the Dollar Tree. It was only $1, but it was metallic gold, little palm frond. I thought that would be a fun little piece to throw in the front of this little gold fall floral display, just for a little bit of fun. I think that piece and that gold garland that I got from Target at Dollar Spot were my inspiration for the gold glam look that we're doing today. Just giving this a quick arrangement. This was so easy to put together, and I absolutely love how the little vase turned out in the metallic gold. I'm going to try to show you without dumping any sand out, but I can show you even better here. Those fall leaves and that pampas grass go so beautifully together. And then the little surprise of the gold palm frond is so fun as well. And look how beautiful that vase is. I think it's so much prettier than when it was orange.
I love the metallic gold. I did a whole video of metallic gold. Okay, the next DIY, we're going to turn this pencil cup into a scarecrow gnome. So the reason I chose this pencil cup, this is from the back to school aisle they have right now, is because it has holes in the side. And I want my gnome to have arms. So I thought I won't have to drill into it, and it's the perfect size for a gnome. I do want to kind of cover up all this pinkness and all of those extra holes in it though. I don't want that to show through my material that I'm going to use to make like the shirt and the body of my gnome. So to cover it all up, I just use masking tape and just go all the way around, kind of give me a blank canvas and mask a lot of that bright pink color. Now I got this idea from like a gnome company that I saw that made really cool like custom gnomes, and I thought a scarecrow gnome is a perfect idea. I bet I could make that with supplies from the Dollar Tree. Now I don't want the pink here on the bottom of the cup to show up either. That's going to be like the head area of my gnome. But I'm glad I made it with this cup just because, again, it's got holes in it already. So I'm going to do like the second row hole here and then straight across on the other side. I'm just going to poke a hole in the masking tape. That way I can add the arms. Now this is the fabric I'm going to use. It's from Dollar Tree. I was just looking for anything plaid. And the fact that this was like brown and tan really goes with like the fall feel. But you can use whatever you can find. I think plaid is great though for a scarecrow shirt, which is what this is going to be. So I'm going to cut the fabric a little bit bigger than what I need. And then we are going to cover the cup. This is going to be like the shirt and the body of our fall gnome. This gnome turned out so cute. I think it might be my favorite one I've ever made here on my channel. It was a little time consuming, but I will take you through all of the steps needed to make this cutie. Now, I'm not worrying too much about fraying because you know what? Scarecrow shirts should look old and frayed, right? I just glue the fabric to itself, just making a sleeve to go over that pencil cup. Now, as you can see, it's fraying quite a bit here at the bottom. That's okay. I'm not going to worry about it too much. I cut it down a little bit. I am going to add some trim down here just to kind of give me a finished edge to the bottom of my gnome here on a little bit. So not too concerned with that. The top part, I just kind of need to see where my arms need to be. And I'm going to use Dollar Tree dowels for this. Now, if you had this diameter of a dowel that's longer, it'd be great because you could use it for both arms if you're using this exact pencil cut from the Dollar Tree. I just need to poke a hole in the fabric and put my arm through like this. You can make it go all the way through to the other side if you had a longer piece. Since my dowel is a little bit shorter, I'm going to have one for each arm. But as you can see, they are right across from each other, so that works out pretty well. And we have a hole in the fabric, so we will be able to attach the arms just like that. So that's when I was like, definitely need two of them because I need them to have long arms. And then I'm just going to take the excess fabric here, just tucking it all in here on the top. You're not going to be able to see this part because we're going to make a scarecrow hat for the gnome. And then around the bottom, I just wanted to look a little bit finished. We are using this burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree to make a burlap hat. And so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of steal the seam from this one. By cutting that off, it's going to give me a very thin burlap trim like that. You could also use like the burlap trim from Dollar Tree. And that's just to give me a more professional seam down there. So you don't see the fraying. None of that pink pencil cut like comes out or anything like that. I just attach it with hot glue all the way around. Now, the shirt is complete, but he needs arms, so he's going to need sleeves. So I'm going to cut out some fabric, wide enough, I think, for one of the arms. Actually, for both of the arms. That's why I cut it extra long like that. And I want to kind of stuff it, have like hay hanging out at the end, like a scarecrow. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this rectangle in two, so I have one for each sleeve. For the raffia, I'm just using grass skirts from the Dollar Tree summer section. and I am just kind of making a tassel with it. I wasn't sure how much to use at first. I was trying this to see if it was enough, and you know what? I think I might need a little bit more. I just went ahead and made a little tassel because I have it all folded here at the end, right? And so I can just use another one of those grass skirt pieces to tie it off. And we have a little tassel with some raffia to it that I can use to tie it to the dowel. So that's what I'm going to do. You could also attach it with hot glue, but I have this on here, so I thought I might as well just tie it too. It's going to be peeking out of the sleeve and when we finish it. So I just tie that off. I think that's the perfect amount of hay to be coming out. So let me go ahead and grab another piece of grass skirt. And this time I just kind of find out the length I need. And you can just kind of wind it around and around just using your fingers like that. Cut it off and tie it off to make a tassel. Once I get it tied off, I can go back and cut the loops here at the other end for making it look like, you know, just raw pieces of raffia hanging out. Now, I don't really like crafting with raffia. I think it's kind of hard to craft with, the Dollar Tree raffia, but these grass skirts are really easy to work with. The raffia is just a little wild, in my opinion. Now, for stuffing, you don't have to stuff it, but I thought it would be fun to kind of make them look like puffier arms than the skinny dowels, right? I just have some fluff from an old pillow, and I just use some hot glue to attach my sleeve right here, down where it kind of overlaps like with the hand, the hay part, right? And just wind that around, getting the stuffing right inside and hot gluing it to itself like that. I end up making these a little bit longer. I can always go back and shorten them if I need to, and I do end up needing to. So same thing, I just glue my sleeve on here, add a little pillow fluff in there, kind of sandwich it in, and roll it around, hot gluing it to itself, and we have two little scarecrow arms. I love this idea. When I saw it, I absolutely had to make it. So I'm going to try them on for size. They're not bad, but they're a little bit too long, I think. So let's trim them down a little bit. I'm going to just cut the dowels a little bit with some miter scissors. Works really well to cut right through these, since I had to use two, one for each arm. And then I don't want the hay to be that long, so I'm going to trim that down as well. That looks more to scale with the size of the scarecrow gnome we're making. I'm going to add a little hot glue there to the hole to help keep it in place and just put my sleeve right in there. Again, not really worried about fraying fabric or anything like that. It's going to add to like that farmhouse rustic appeal of this little scarecrow guy. I did add a little hot glue on the inside just to make sure the arms stay in place like that. And the body of the scarecrow is coming along nicely. Now for the beard. Of course, it's supposed to look like hay, right? It's a scarecrow gnome, right? So again, using the grass skirt, I might as well take advantage of the fact that it's already on twine here at the top, right? So I just cut off a little piece that was wide enough to go all the way around. And using hot glue, I'm attaching it to the bottom of that pencil cup there at the top. Once I get it glued together, I can kind of figure out how long I need my little gnome beard to be. That looks good, but it's way too thin. So we're going to have to do layers to make it look thick. I don't really want to be able to see the shirt through it. So with that remaining raffia that I just cut off, I took a third, glued it over there. I'm going to glue like a third of it over here and the other third in the middle. Therefore doing like a second row of the raffia. Just making sure that I have it all glued down so it stays in place. I can gather that together now and trim that down too. You want it to be long, but you don't want it to be like super long, like where it curls up too much from hitting the ground. I think that looks good, but you know what? I like my gnomes to have like a super full beard. So I still have more of that raffia from that piece. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm just going to hot glue another layer here. And that way he's going to have like a super full beard. Again, just trimming off the excess, gathering it together and cutting it down. He is really coming together. We're also going to be having hay come out of his hat to really make him look like a scarecrow, right? He's got scarecrow coming out of, or he's got hay coming out of his sleeves. He's got a hay beard. I want him to have hay coming out of his hat as well. And I think this is also called a gonk. One of my viewers told me that whenever you make like a gnome with, you can't see their eyes, that's called a gonk, which is kind of a funny word, but I like it. Now I gathered up some more of that raffia that I had from the grass skirt, and I just tied it together in like a big bundle tassel like that. And I just hot glued that towards the back. And then I'm going to need, I think, a little bit more hair. So take some more of the grass skirt. I'm going to make another like tassel by wrapping it around my hands, tying it off. Tying it off just really makes it easy to work with because you just have a bundle. Go back and cut all my loops so I have wild, crazy hair coming out. And then I'm going to glue that one right on top of where like the beard is. And I think that looks pretty full. For the hat, we're going to be using that burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. We're going to use the piece that I already had here that I cut the hem off of for the bottom of it. Might as well. That'll give it kind of an open burlap appearance there at the top. And I'm just going to wrap it around kind of a cone-shaped hat, which doesn't really make sense here in the back, but we're able to mask it pretty well by pulling it tight, hot gluing it to itself like that. And then we can go back and trim off the excess fabric to make it kind of make more sense back there. And that looks pretty good. I want to do like a two-part hat, like with a kind of a brim and a stripe on the hat too, for a little bit more detail. I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue to glue this on top of the beard there, just so the hat stays in place on this little guy. And then I didn't really have any ribbon that I really wanted to use for this. So what we're going to use is that same fabric we use for a shirt. That way it will match. So I'm going to actually use the pattern on here, that little pattern piece for my ribbon. I just cut another piece down to size to see if that would be large enough to go around his hat, and it was. So then I just cut down that pattern of it like that. I thought that would make a really cute like little checkered ribbon for his hat. And then I want to do like the brim of the hat too. So I'm just going to use another piece of that burlap ribbon. I love this stuff. It's my favorite. It's my favorite thing Dollar Tree's ever done. I use burlap all the time. And so that looks long enough, but it doesn't need to be very wide. So I cut it down into a thin little strip like that. And I have it where the seam is kind of coming up, kind of make it look like it has a little bit of dimension, the brim of the hat. And I don't go fully around, I just kind of glue it back to the sides like that. And then we can go ahead and put the ribbon on the hat too. I kind of like the fact that it is looking a little rough with fraying and stuff like that. And I don't really care if it's super round back here. I just kind of need it to be tight up against the gnome. So I kind of do it almost in a point back there. But I'm going to kind of embrace it looking ragged. I want it to look a little 3D too. So I just kind of wiggle around, mess with it a little bit, give it some dimension. And then every like little gonk or gnome needs a nose. I'm just going to use a Dollar Tree wood bead, just a natural wood bead. I think that's going to look really cute on there. And I want it to be right underneath its hat. So I'm going to hot glue it right here down through the grass skirt. And then have it hole up and hole down so you can't see the hole. I just go ahead and glue the hat, covering it slightly to cover up that hole. He is really coming together. I just give him a little bit of a trim. You can kind of mess that grass skirt up a little bit, make it look wild like raffia or hay, kind of going all over the place. And he is looking really cute. I thought he needed maybe one more touch, like something else on his hat. So I'm going to use one of these little sunflowers from the Dollar Tree. I thought that would be great for fall and great for a scarecrow. They do come on wires though, which kind of gets in the way. So I'm just going to go ahead and snip the wire off and attach the sunflower to his hat with a little bit of hot glue. Now the one that I was looking at that was for sale, they had like a little crow on his arm. So if you could figure out a way to like DIY a little crow or something like that, that would be really cute too. Just something like that landing on his arm would be really cute. But I kind of left him as is, and I absolutely adore this guy. Isn't he so cute? Our little scarecrow gnome. I know a lot of you guys love gnomes. Some of you guys don't, but I don't know how you cannot like him. I used to be a gnome hater until I started making them, and now I love them.
Now, they have some really cute metal buckets for fall this year. This one's really traditional. It says Hello Fall, and I thought that'd make the perfect planter for a little floral arrangement. And I'm really loving some of their fall florals at the Dollar Tree. Now, this little green foam piece fits perfectly in their little metal buckets. So I always like to use this to fill it, no cutting involved. It does fit flat flush with the top though, so I don't want that to be visible. So I'm just going to hot glue some Spanish moss from the Dollar Tree all over that to kind of disguise that. And, you know, that brown Spanish moss color is going to kind of go with my fall decor. Now I'm only going to use like 3 picks with this one. I picked up a couple of cattails in kind of that honey color, and then some really high-end looking pumpkin pick there. Really, they're stepping up their game with some of their pumpkins this year. Once I get it all glued on there, the Spanish moss, I'm just going to give it a quick trim just to kind of clean it up a little bit. And now it is ready for flowers. You can always fill this up with a bucket of pumpkins too, but I thought if we added some florals to this, we can make it look even better. Now, these florals, they kind of have tabs where you can kind of shorten them. Makes it kind of easy to cut the plastic part. And then if you just bend back and forth, the metal breaks pretty easily. I'm going to do the pumpkin one right in front. I think it's so pretty. I kind of want that to be the star of the show. Just pushing that into the foam. And then I got 2 foxtails the same color there today. They do have the fall florals out at my Dollar Tree, this local, even if they don't have anything else out. They're killing me. And this is the other 2. None of my Dollar Tree, I've been to 2 today. Neither one of their air conditionings are working properly. I felt so sorry for the employees in there because I was sweating. They have to really be sweating. It's too hot for that. I don't know if the buildings just can't keep up or what's going on, but it was even hot in Target today as well. So I did have to shorten the cattails as well. And I'm going to do 1 on each side of the little pumpkin pick. And I think the colors work really well together. The greenery on that really matches the greenery on the pumpkin pick. And we're just going to kind of slide that in there. Not much arranging needed. Just kind of trying to make it look even and full. And this DIY was so easy. Just to add a little bit of fall decor wherever you want to add it. Such an easy DIY. And look at those beautiful colors. I think they did a great job on those pumpkins. The way they're distressed look really nice. And I'm loving the greens and the browns there. And the little metal bucket, so cute for fall. You don't even have to DIY those anymore because they're so cute already. Now the next one, I'm going to use another one of those long vases from the Dollar Tree and then one of their little clear glass candle holders. Now to decorate the large vase, I thought we could use one of these rub-on transfers from Dollar Tree that says Hello Autumn. I thought that'd be an easy way to decorate the glass, and I was really surprised by how easy this was to get on. So you just peel off the back, lay it on the glass, and then I used one of those little Cricut scrapers to scrape it on. And either of these things work wonderful or they really fight you, and this was one that worked absolutely wonderful. I love these things. So you got to make sure that it's all down before you go too crazy pulling it off, because you can still scrape it on if you need to, but everything came right off and it looks really good. Now this is going to be a fun idea. I'm going to do the candle holder inside of the vase. That way we can fill the vase up with popcorn. So this is the candle holder we're going to use. These come in several different sizes. We'll be using the other 2 sizes, I think, today. I think there might be 3 different sizes of those. And then we can pop a little tea candle right inside. So this is what I'm going to use for corn, just my popcorn that I had around my house. I think corn looks great for fall decor, and it was a little bit more challenging to get it in there because basically I want to fill up the whole vase with corn, but not the little candle holder at the top. So that's not the way it was going for me. So let's try that again. I was looking all over for a funnel. I know I have lots of craft funnels that I try to pick up at Dollar Tree, and I found one that was large enough for the little popcorn kernels to go through. You could always use dried beans. I think that would be really cute too. That way I can just pour that around the edges of my candle holder and get the corn to go exactly where I need it to go. And it's a pretty large vase, that vase from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to fill it all the way up. That way it's going to kind of weigh down the little candle holder inside. It's all going to be kind of hidden underneath the corn too. So that's really fun. And the funnel method was definitely the key here. Just kind of shake that in right where you need it and try to get any out of the candle holder because they're not supposed to be in that section. Now, at first I wanted to use one of the little apple cinnamon tea light candles. I thought that would be a nice fall scent. The only thing I didn't like about these though is I kind of expected these to be a little bit more red, but when I put them in there, they kind of looked hot pink. So even though I like the smell, I wasn't a big fan of the color. So I'm going to switch it up to one of the vanilla ones from Dollar Tree. And I think that's just going to look nicer in there. It might not smell as much like fall, but I think it's going to work. So here's our little candle nested in a jar of corn that says Hello Autumn. I'm glad I decided to add that decal to the outside because I think it added a little bit more decor that it needed on the outside of the jar. But otherwise, I think the corn for fall is so cute. So we're going to light this up. Try not to create any popcorn here. And I think that's really fun. What do you guys think about this DIY, the popcorn candle? I got this little sign from the Dollar Tree. It says, I love fall most of all. And I decided to use it as an inspiration for a beautiful fall sunflower wreath. So I'm going to use this wreath form. It's got like 4 rows, but my wood round's big enough to cover 2 rows. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and attach my wood round to it first and just kind of build out from there. That way I'll need less things and I can kind of make it custom to size. I'm going to leave the existing hanger on there and just string that through from the back like that so I can still use it for a wreath hanger. It's just a matter of attaching the wood round from the Dollar Tree to the Dollar Tree wreath form. So I just did a bead of hot glue all the way around. My hot glue gun was not charged very well. So I was trying to get that on there as quick as I could so I could just lay my little wreath form on top. I didn't get it all in great places, so I do follow that up with another row of hot glue, making sure that's good and secure. I don't want that going anywhere because we are going to build this wreath out and it's going to end up, and it's a pretty nice size wreath. So once I get that all dry, we can flip this over and start decorating. I'm using the sign itself as inspiration for the pieces, and there's a lot of greenery on there. So I picked up 3 things of garland from the Dollar Tree, and they're all different leaves, but you know, sometimes at the Dollar Tree, you kind of have to take what you can get. And I think it actually added some variety and made it look great. This garland is already wired, so super easy to make a wreath with. I just wind it around the wire wreath form and just wrap it around. This is kind of like maybe a star-shaped leaf, I guess. I decided to kind of make it go through this little section here at the top. That way I could get it to stay on there without having to use any zip ties or wire or anything like that. And then just wire it down to itself there at the bottom. It was the perfect size to go around the wreath one time, but of course it's not near as full as it should be for a wreath. So I also got this greenery at Dollar Tree. This one has more of like a heart-shaped leaf. They're both green, but I think that's fine because the leaves on my sign, my inspiration, had green leaves as well. But you could totally do this with fall leaves if you'd want. But really, there was no sign of like fall leaf colors on this sign, and it turned out so bright and beautiful. I do go through one section of the wreath form like I did before, just so I don't have to use any wire or anything like that. Just making sure everything is kind of tight and wrapped tight around the wreath form, and it does make it all the way around the wreath form one more time. So I just wire that back to itself. And then my third package of greenery is like a heart shape, but it's like a variated leaf. So I think they all actually worked really nicely with each other because all the leaves are a little bit different. It's going to kind of add to our design. And we're going to add all the things that you see like in that fall picture. We're going to add sunflower, pomegranates, apples, cotton, the whole 9 yards. It actually turned out so beautiful. I was really pleased with how this turned out. And so far, super easy for a wreath, right? Most of the items we work with today are wired, so it was really easy to wire it to that wiry form. And let's get started decorating it. This is the little mini pomegranates. And we are going to use this entire sprig. Again, they're all wired, so they're going to be super easy to attach. I'm just kind of cutting them all apart separately down by the base, making sure that I leave the greenery on there. That's going to make my wreath a little bit fuller. And then we're just going to kind of stagger these around where I think they would look good, and just wrapping them around like the vine and also the wreath form. So they'll stay in place, no floral wire, anything required. I was really impressed with how easy it was to put this together. It was really fun to build it. So I have like 5 little sprigs. One only had one on there, but I'm going to go ahead and use it anyway, and just kind of stagger those out all the way around the wreath form. And I know the light is shining right on that sign, so it's kind of hard to see, but you can kind of see a little bit. Now, this is also a fall pick. It has like little apples on there, and it's super cute. So we're going to use a lot of things from here. And we might as well use the greenery. It's going to be a different kind of greenery than what we already have on there. And we might as well use it. I use everything on there except for the flowers. But I mainly got that because I wanted these cute little apples to attach to it, because there's apples on that fall sign. And that is a great representation for fall too. So I just, again, wire that, kind of staggering that in between our pomegranates. And it's a nice small apple, perfect size for a wreath. And I just kind of nest those right inside. And then I'm also going to add the greenery. The greenery that I pulled off the side was the first thing that we've used that doesn't have wires on it. So I am going to have to use zip ties to attach that to the wiry form. But honestly, I only had to use a couple of those on this whole project. I almost added the little flowers that came on there. They're probably like apple tree flowers, but I decided I really wanted the flowers on this to be sunflowers. So speaking of sunflowers, I have a couple left from the previous DIYs. They have lots of different sunflowers I noticed at Dollar Tree this year. This one has kind of a big rounded leaf. It's kind of a large sunflower. And we're going to go ahead and use both of these. I'm going to cut their stems off, saving their greenery as well, because I want that wire stem, again, that I can wrap around there. And I even added a little extra greenery from that previous DIY from the sunflowers that we used before. I'm going to put one up here to the left, another one down here on the bottom. Just wiring that to itself. And then I also had these sunflowers from the Dollar Tree. You can kind of see they kind of have like a pointier leaf, and they are smaller than those, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and use some of those to decorate this as well. I thought maybe 3 would be like a really nice punch of color. So I'm going to put it over here, kind of staggering it out between the other 2. And then there's pumpkins on the sign. So I'm going to use some of these little pumpkin picks from the Dollar Tree. This is a very soft, like orange color, and there is a pumpkin on there similar to that. Now they have these little clips, so easy to attach to a wreath form. Just have to find something to attach it to, and then you can just clip those right to the wreath form. I was trying to decide where to put the second pumpkin. I decided to wait until I added some more stuff to it to figure that out. Now, these are the little cotton pods from the Dollar Tree, from the Crafter Square. And the great thing is they're already on wires. So that's going to make it even easier. I'm going to stagger those throughout the wreath. And these are also, of course, on the sign, the fall sign below. So I thought maybe a pumpkin over here, another like little cotton piece up here. Isn't it so pretty? I think that this wreath really screams fall. I love it. I love all the inspiration I got from the wood round. It was perfect inspiration, and I was able to find all of this stuff at the Dollar Tree. So that was definitely a win. Just trying to arrange everything. We're going to use the existing hanger that was on the wood round to hang the wreath form, so I don't need to add anything else to it. And I think it looks really full and beautiful. What do you guys think about it? I love the greenery on there just because it makes it so colorful with the yellow sunflowers and like the red fruit and stuff like that. And this is how it turned out, our little I Love Fall Most of All wreath. It was kind of a work in progress. It was really fun to build this out, and I just love how it turned out. It's so beautiful and colorful for fall. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, the next DIY, we're going to use some of these wood slices again. These are the little ones that are like the size of a coaster. And I'm going to show you how to DIY your own little candle holder out of those. So again, we're going to use some of the wood stems from the Dollar Tree, and we're just going to create some little feet. So I want like 3 of those that are about the same length. I think 3 legs is going to be enough to make a stable little candle holder. And then we're going to DIY our own little fall candle using one of those pillar candles from the Dollar Tree and a Dollar Tree fall leaf. This time we're going to use that bright red color out of that package from earlier. So it's kind of like a matching game, trying to find the ones that are going to work. And I think we have a winner. Super cute. I've made little candle holders like this using these supplies for tier trays before. I think they look so rustic and cute. And they're just so easy. You can just leave all the wood unfinished and then just attach the little feet with some hot glue, and you are ready to go with a cute little rustic candle holder. Now I'm going to do a technique on the candle itself that I haven't done in a long time, but it's always a fun little crafting technique and a cute little hack. You may have done it in the past too. It might be a reminder that it's a really fun thing to do. We are just going to melt the little fall leaf into the side of the candle. Now I've done this before with photographs. Like I've printed out, I think on tissue paper, and made like little personalized candles for like grandparents and stuff like that. And they turned out so cute. So I kind of remember the technique, and I thought we could totally do that with a fall leaf. So just going to go ahead and get all the packaging off of this. This is like a vanilla scented candle from the Dollar Tree. I find these the most often. I like to pick these up because the nice neutral color, and it's going to smell great too. And the only thing you need for this is wax paper. I picked up this wax paper at the Dollar Tree, and you're going to use that wax on the wax paper to kind of melt on top of the leaf and then melt it into the side of the candle. So super fun. Just go ahead and put your leaf on there wherever you want it to be. Mine is a tiny bit too large, but I think we can make it work. I just want it to kind of wrap around the candle like that. So I put my wax paper over it with the wax side down, and then I just hold it tightly around the candle in place. And now for this, I'm going to use my heat gun, but if you don't have a heat gun, you could totally use a blow dryer. It works just as well for this. And you're going to want to work quickly. You want to melt that wax paper and that wax like right on top of the leaf, but you don't want to like destroy the shape of your candle or get any like bleeding or anything like that from the red leaf on there. So less is more when you're like applying heat to this. Just kind of do it until you think it is stuck, and then you can just go ahead and peel off your wax paper, and we have a leaf melted into the side of the candle. Such a fun way to make a fall candle. So a little bit of heat to melt the wax on there. Look how beautiful that turned out. It's really well attached. It looks like part of the candle, and then we can just use that little leaf candle and put it on our little candle holder that we just DIY'd. I think it's going to look so cute together, and it was so easy to make. And I thought a little of that berry garland would look really cute wrapped around that too, just for another little fall touch, just a little bit of it. It's the red and the orange one that we used before. I'm thinking maybe just wrap it around the candle holder, kind of like loosely, maybe 2 times would look really good. Just a nice little fall element that you can add. I love this berry garland from Dollar Tree. I think it's so pretty. So I'm just gonna like wrap it around like that. That way I can kind of wire it to itself there in the back, kind of having it like go down all the way on one side, maybe not so much on the other side. I don't want it to look too perfect. So there it is. We have our little fall leaf candle. Super fun to make that with some wax paper. You could put about anything on the side, but I think a fall leaf would be perfect for a fall candle. And this is how it turned out. Again, it's not a fall scent. If you could get a fall scented candle at Dollar Tree, that would be really cute too. I think this might look really good in a colored candle as well. And I love that little DIY candle holder. It's so cute. And so let's light this one up and see how it looks. I haven't done this technique in years since I lived in Florida, so I'm glad I remembered it because it was really fun to do. I'm going to use one of these little standard wood crate boxes from the Dollar Tree at Crafter Square, and we're going to make a really cute little sunflower planter box out of this. So I don't want like the stain to be super dark, so I mixed water together with Antique Wax by Waverly to give me a lighter stain. And staining one of these little wood boxes from the Dollar Tree is even easier than painting because you can kind of get in all the little creases and everything there pretty easily and just wipe all the excess off with a paper towel. I did notice certain sides were staining like maybe a little bit different color. So on those sides, I did go over it with another coat. I'm also just going to do the bottom just to kind of make it look more like a finished piece. And I'm not necessarily going to do like the inside, but I do around the edges where you might see in there. And then I did the bottom just because I dripped some in there anyway. Now to decorate our little planter box, they have these great stencils this year in the fall section at Dollar Tree. They're little self-adhesive stencils and they come in all different kinds of patterns. This one had sunflowers on it as well as other fall themed too. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint that cool fall pattern on the front. I was trying to decide if I should just leave it all one piece and do it, and I decided I was just going to cut mine. It's just going to make it easier. So I cut that stencil down to the front there, and they're actually just stickers. So basically you guys just have to peel and stick. The only challenging part is getting it started. And I'm going to have like that stained wood background, and then we're going to go over the top of it with some ivory acrylic paint. And I'm going to use a little stencil dauber from the Dollar Tree. And the stencils work pretty good. I did find I had to kind of hold this one on a little bit, but it may be because I didn't really have my Antique Wax by Waverly like super dry before I put it on there. But it did a pretty good job. So here are the results. Isn't that a pretty pattern? I went back and forth about whether to put a word on there, and I end up actually doing it. I also do want my little planter box to have little feet. So I'm going to use some of these little wood beads. These are from like the wood beads, the square wood beads from the Dollar Tree. And I had some extra ones. So I thought the fact that they were cube shaped would work great for little feet. And so I just stain them with that Antique Wax by Waverly too. So they'll match with the planter box. Super easy. All I have to do is glue one of the little feet into each corner of our little mini planter box. Now this DIY would be great for anywhere. It'd be great for a tier tray because it's small. on a shelf, in a kitchen, in an office, pretty much anywhere. At first, I was going to put Hello Autumn on the front, but I kind of felt like it was covering up too much of my cute stencil pattern. So I do end up putting a word on there, but for now, I decided to wait. Now, the flowers that we're going to use to fill this, I picked up 2 fall flower picks from Dollar Tree. They have some really pretty stuff this year. Their flowers have gotten so much more high end. So I'm going to use just some Dollar Tree foam. I have to cut 1 piece to get it to fit. I basically just want to fill the box there so I can arrange it. And then a little bit of Spanish moss from the Dollar Tree to cover the foam so you can't see in the planter box. And now it's a matter of just arranging our sunflowers in there. I think it's going to be so pretty. I picked up 2 of these. These had like sunflowers, pumpkins, pine cones, really pretty. Every time I go to Dollar Tree, I went to 2 Dollar Trees today, I find myself picking out more fall florals because they're just so nice. Their flowers used to be so cheap there, and since they've raised their prices, I'm really noticing a difference in quality. So I'm going to do some sunflowers in this. I'm pretty much going to use everything because I just want like a fall theme. And so I thought maybe like a sunflower on each side, maybe some of the taller pieces here in the back. And I'm trying to save all the greenery on them as well, just pushing those up before I cut them. A pumpkin and a pine cone. And I do kind of rearrange these to get it exactly how I wanted. I was thinking I wanted 3 sunflowers, but it took a little bit of arranging before I was happy with it. So I just kind of move stuff around and add to it. I'm not going to use everything on these 2 picks, but I'm going to use a lot of it. I had so much fun putting these sunflower DIYs together today. I think they all turned out so pretty. The sunflower is such a bright flower for fall, and it can kind of work with all those fall colors, right? So I finally found a spot for my 3rd sunflower there, and then I chose the Hello Fall word and the little wood fall words that they have at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to paint it this golden sunset color. It's going to go nice, I think, with the sunflowers, and it's not too late. I'm going to glue it here on the front of our little planter box. It doesn't cover up as much as the Hello Autumn one, and so here it is, our little mini sunflower planter box. So cute and easy. Just a couple of items from the Dollar Tree, and I think it turned out so sweet. Isn't that stencil pattern really pretty?
I picked up the fall stencils last year, so I'm really hoping that they bring them back again this year because they were so beautiful. I really don't think any of my stores have fall completely set, so I'm still holding out hope. And that is 20 fall Dollar Tree DIYs for you. I really hope you enjoyed these DIYs. Let me know in the comments below which DIY was your favorite. And this is the QR code to my Buy Me a Coffee if you would like to leave me a tip. You can find me on all social media at Crafty Beach on YouTube. And now it's time for the final reveal.
Open up the window. I'm breathing in the last of September. I can feel the wind blow, and the late summer sky is like a giant ember. Everything is turning into gold when the autumn leaves are playing chase. It puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. So since I was a little child. Every year for as long as I remember, all the leaves were running wild, going all the way until November. Turn the world around us into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase it, puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. I wonder where they're going, the flight of swallows sailing through the sky. There's no way of knowing, but maybe someplace far from you and I. When the autumn leaves are playing chase it, puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. When the autumn leaves are playing chase it, puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. Dancing through the last days of September.
Summer is ended, the leaves are turning brown. Red and yellow, soon they'll be falling down. Now, I'm not ready, not just yet. I'm not ready for autumn. Autumn comes too soon. Autumn comes too soon. The light that flickers will blow out with the side, and all that blossomed will wither away and die. Not now, I'm not ready, not just yet. I'm not ready for autumn. Autumn comes too soon. I'm not ready for autumn.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's fall crafting video. That helps us YouTubers so much if you watch the entire video. And I'd also like to give a huge thank you to all of my YouTube members. Thank you to Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Marin Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Donna Tanner, Kim Rogers, Maria Cruz Pagan, Pal Puppy Life, Renee Albanese, Mindy Hupp, and Jenny. Thank you guys so much for your extra support. I really appreciate it. If you would like to become a Crafty Beach Bum member, you can get early ad-free access to my new videos. You can also get a badge next to your name and a comment down below and a shout out in every video. And if you've been crafting, we would love to see your DIYs. Be sure to share your DIYs with us in our private Facebook group. I always have it linked in the description of my videos, as well as my Facebook page, which I am very active over on Facebook if you would like some individual DIYs. Now, if you would like even more fall crafting inspiration, you can check out one of these DIY videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting for fall.